Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'll be showing you guys another one of my favorite comfort meals. This is scalloped potatoes, and I figured I'd make this video next because my mac and cheese video I used the same white sauce, which is called a bechamel sauce. It originated in France, and a lot of people were a little bit puzzled about the butter, flour, canned milk mixture, so I decided to make my scalloped potato recipe, and hopefully a few of the puzzled people will understand. So the first thing you guys want to start out with, nice starchy potato. I'm using Yukon Golds for this recipe. You can use Yukon Golds, russets, or yellow potato. Just try to stick to the potatoes that are more on the starchy side. I wouldn't suggest using a red potato because those are they're more waxy and they don't really mesh well with the cream sauce. So here I'm just showing you guys the guideline that I use. I'm cutting my potatoes a ½ inch thick, and each notch in your finger is 1 inch long. So half of that should be a ½ inch. And then I'm going to salt my water and add my potatoes. You want to make sure you generously salt your water because potatoes are generally bland. So any part of this recipe where you can kind of season it well, you want to do that. So I'm going to probably boil these potatoes not for too long because I don't want them to mash away in the water. So I'm going to bring them up to a boil and then boil them for like 7 minutes on a rapid boil. Now I'm going to start on my cream sauce, and here are some of the base seasonings that I like to use for my cream sauce. I generally like to use white onions for my cream sauce instead of the yellow onion because I feel like the white onion doesn't add that oniony taste to the cream sauce. I'm also using garlic, thyme, and red pepper. I'm using 4 cloves of garlic, 1/4 of the onion, and about the same for the red pepper. And when you're chopping them up, you want to make sure you chop them up finely so the flavors can evenly disperse through the sauce. If you chop them up too big, you won't get the same effect. Also, when you're chopping up your garlic, you want to go ahead and give it a good press first because it helps the skin come off more easily. It helps you chop it up better because the edge is more flatter so it flows better throughout your knife and the flavors get to extract better. Now I'm going to check on my potatoes to see if they're halfway cooked. I'm just going to poke it with a knife. I'm not going to cook it all the way because I know for my cream sauce I'm not going to make it too thick because I want the cream sauce to kind of like boil the potatoes in the oven, boil or steam. I'm starting my cream sauce with 2 tablespoons of butter or margarine. It doesn't really matter of the two. You just want to make sure you're not using a flavorless fat like lard or vegetable oil. I'm adding my vegetables and I'm going to saute them till they're translucent. And then here I'm adding a couple of sprigs of thyme. I'm also going to get the bottom of the stem because that's where most of the flavors and fragrance lies for the thyme. So here I'm cutting it off, getting the thickest part, and I'm going to hit it with the back of my knife so we can get a head start with all those flavors releasing because you're not keeping the milk on the stove for too long, so the milk will get to penetrate the stems better. We'll be adding red pepper flakes. You can use your discretion with this, or you don't even have to add it at all. Also adding oregano, a hefty amount of salt, and a couple pinches of black pepper. And then you're going to stir it around until you get a consistency, something like this. Then you're ready to add your flour. You're going to be using 2 tablespoons of flour because you use 2 tablespoons of butter. So you always want to use equal parts. You're going to whisk it around until the raw taste of the flour is completely gone. I would say for about 2 minutes, and then you're going to add your milk. I'm using evaporated milk. Can't stress this enough because I've seen a couple people confuse it with condensed milk. It's completely different, guys. Condensed milk is usually made with desserts because it's very, very sweet. Evaporated milk is strictly milk with whole milk with 50% of the water taken out of it. So it's very, very creamy. It's great for creamy dishes like mac and cheese, potatoes, chicken alfredo, shrimp alfredo, all those creamy dishes. You're going to add your milk gradually because you don't want it to clump up with your flour. So you're going to add it gradually at a time and mix it in between. You're also going to do this on very low heat because evaporated milk is very easy to burn since it has a higher fat content than whole milk. You're going to do it on low heat. So I just add my first can and I'm going to use a half of a second can. And then I'm going to put it on a medium low heat until the milk simmers. Something like this. And then I'm going to test the consistency with my spatula. I just want to make sure my sauce is thin enough to cook my potatoes in the oven. You want to make sure that it's not too thick because you want your potatoes to even steam or boil in the oven. I'm using two types of cheeses, pepper jack and sharp cheddar cheese. Pepper jack is basically Monterey Jack with jalapenos added. You can use your discretion with the cheeses. You can use as much or as little as you like. You can even switch them out. So I shredded them up, and then I'm going to lay my potatoes down in a uniform manner. And in between layers, I'm going to add the milk because I want to make sure everything gets covered. Because since the sauce is a little thick, it probably won't flow through all of it if I had just put all the potatoes in and threw the sauce over it. So I'm going to do it by layer, making sure every potato is coated. And in between, I just added a sprinkle of cheese. Not a lot, just a little. And then for the top layer, I add all the cheeses. Then I add a pinch of black pepper to the top. This is strictly for aesthetics, not really for flavoring. I just love to see the specks of black pepper in the melted cheese when it's done. And then you're gonna cover it with foil and cook it at the top of your oven. Remember, the top part of your oven is the hottest point because hot air rises, but the hottest part of your stove is your broiler, and we'll actually be using that later on. So the majority of your cooking is going to be done low and slow. You want to give that milk a chance to steam the potatoes, let all those flavors marry. So I would say I cooked it for about 10 to 15 minutes with the lid on, the remainder in the oven with the cover off. And then just for about 5 minutes, I put it inside the broiler so the cheese can get a nice coloring on top. Because since everything is cooking low and slow, it doesn't really give the cheese a chance to brown. And you're going to do that in your broiler, and this is how it should look when it's done. If you guys try this recipe, let me know in the comment section or on Instagram. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next